Welcome to the Smart Connector podcast, which helps entrepreneurs generate more impact, wealth, and success, attract others for all the right reasons, and become a smart connector, the architect of your amazing business and life. This podcast is sponsored by Virtual Non-Execs, the world's #1 peer-to-peer board advisor community, which connects thousands of investors, entrepreneurs, and advisors globally. Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is the Smart Connector podcast. I've got a wonderful guest for you, as ever, today. Mimi Bland, Dr. Mimi Bland, welcome.
Hello. Thank you so much, Jane, for having me today. Really looking forward to speaking with you and to your audience. Thank you.
Oh, I can't wait as well. We're going to have such a great conversation. So just before we get into it, to introduce Mimi, she's an elite mindset strategist and a world-class thought leader in emotional mastery and self-recalibration, which sounds exciting, doesn't it? She helps visionaries, high achievers, and leaders achieve success through mindset. And she's also an author with 6 books to her name. She's on her 7th. And she has a mindfulness app and a private members community. So we'll be talking a little bit more about that later. But she is a very, very inspirational lady. We're really, really happy to have her here with us today. So yeah, let's get into it, shall we, Mimi?
Thank you, Jane.
So Mimi, first of all, mindset is such an important topic, isn't it? For not just for people in business, but really for anybody who wants to have a quality life. What's your take on that?
Well, I think mindset goes beyond really about having just a quality. Like everything that we create is coming from ourselves. So it's all coming from our mind. It's coming through us and from us. So I think it's really important. I think, like when you buy a car, you have, a manual, there's instructions, but when we're born, there's no instructions to teach us, how we think, how we feel, and how we're actually creating everything in our life. So mindset is really, really important to understand. Like it's not just it's in there, but what is it doing? It's part of functioning. It's part of our creation.
Yeah. And we were talking beforehand, and this isn't something that you've just stumbled across recently, is it, Mimi? You said that you've been really passionate about this topic ever since you were a child. So tell us what inspired you in the first place, or when you say that you've been passionate about this since you were a child, what was that kind of realization that made you realize that you were called to do this work?
I think, every single person, I look at life a little bit different to other people, that, we are spiritual beings here to have a human experience and to awaken to ourselves. So going through the process of, obviously, when we are born, we forget certain elements about who we are and what we've come here for. So as a child, I had my own experiences. Some of them were quite painful, and life experiences. If you think about our parents, they're doing the very best that they can with the knowledge and information that they have been given through their lives and through their generations. But sometimes we carry patterns on without even knowing consciously that we're carrying them. So I was told from quite a young age, I used to wet the bed, that I was dirty, I was disgusting. I had a lot of fear infused in me. A woman's place is, women are here really to be seen and not heard. And it was a lot of patterning and sort of like programming that set me up for a lot of things that I achieved and a lot of things that I had enjoyed later on. At that time, I didn't know anything about energy, frequency, or any of that stuff. So I think for me, I from a very young age, I used to have downloads. When I say downloads, we can all get them. It's just where you have quiet moments and you see and hear things, where people would say it's just your imagination and, you're just thinking about things that. So the downloads I used to have was very much of, I chose to come here and I chose to feel a lot of pain and suffering, because my whole mission, personal mission, was to teach people how to overcome pain and suffering. So sometimes you have to go through things so that you can then teach others how to overcome things. And a lot of people that have ailments and have things that are happening to them, they're actually happening for them, but we just don't look at it in that way. So that was the basis of it. Then later on, I didn't really want to set up a business in this, but people would come to me and ask me or speak to me about certain things, and they would just have an instantaneous change, or the information that I would say would sort of like impact them in a different way. So that's when I realized that I needed to take this up a step more.
Yeah, and it sounds as though not only did you have a gift, because if you have a gift, people tend to recognize it. And as you said, they then seek you out and you're like, oh, maybe I am good at this thing. So, but also you had a very, very strong purpose. And it's really interesting how you frame that as something that was almost kind of hardwired into you without you even realizing why, but comes from maybe intergenerational stuff and family patterns and all of this stuff outside of us that exists perhaps in the spiritual realm. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, most definitely. And I think, one thing I've learned along this life's journey is that, we're always looking externally from us for someone who's got an answer to help us, to heal us, to solve our issues, where really all the answers are within us. And we just have to learn how to get into our own mechanism, our own thought patterns, our own brain, because we're always being guided, but we just don't know how to listen to ourselves. From that young patterning, as people might understand, like I get a lot of people that write to me saying I'm in abusive relationships, or I keep meeting people that are, rude or treat me badly, or this deal doesn't happen, that deal doesn't happen, but everything is coming from ourselves. So if I was to use myself as for people to understand from that patterning as a child, I really went on to think, what is wrong with me? So that was the whole of my life question. Why do people not like me? What am I doing wrong? And I then picked people. So if there was one person, if there was 10,000 people in a room, I would pick the one person that would reflect back to me how I felt and to reflect my belief systems. So then that person would ignore me, beat me, hit me. I mean, I've been locked up, I've been shot at, but you name all the things that could happen. But there was an aspect of myself that I didn't like myself. And I didn't even realize that it was my own belief system that was playing out, that other people have to match you. So everyone's just a mirror to how you're really feeling inside of yourself, basically.
So that sounds like you have had a very interesting personal journey yourself, Mimi. And obviously, we always learn from all of our relationships, don't we? But so tell us a little bit more about the actual circumstances that, made you grow, learn, be who you are today, then.
Yeah, well, I think like for me personally, I went through so much pain that I could never work out what I was doing wrong. That was the whole ethos of everything. Like, why would this person hate me? Why would you do that to me? And it got to the stage where the conditioning becomes so familiar that it was my normality. So people would say to me, that's wrong. Why are you doing that? Why do you allow someone to do that to you? And I would question them because I didn't know what they were talking about. Because as you know, you become familiar with things, even if they're comfortable, if they're painful, or it's what you know. So you don't know anything outside of that remit. And then if you haven't got any knowledge or information, you've got nothing then to compare anything else. So you just think that's a normal pattern. So I think for me, it really started getting very, very painful. And it was to the point where I couldn't take that pain anymore because I had no answers. There was no one I could turn to. So I decided at one point that I wanted to take my own life. And I tried a couple of times, but it obviously wasn't the universe. That wasn't meant to be. But it was in that lowest of the lowest time that something happened. It was a situation that somebody had called me in that moment. And all I could say is that they reminded me of who I was in that moment. And it basically woke me up. And in that moment, then everything transformed and changed. And then the right people came, the right opportunities, the right doors opened to help me remember who I was. And that was the whole process. It was like we're sleepwalking. And then suddenly it's not about getting, it's about remembering. And our whole life journey is about remembering what's already inside of us.
So really, rock bottom is a very interesting concept I think for a lot of people have reached a crisis point in their life. I know I did actually a few years back, where I was recovering from cancer. My husband had an affair. He walked out, I had some money struggles. Everything was going wrong at that particular time. And I also kind of rebuilt, and I had an epiphany myself. So I'm totally familiar with what you're talking about. So around about what kind of age did this happen to you, Mimi? Is this one relationship, or was this several relationships, or was it other life events or whatever? What actually? Yeah.
So my patterning was that it doesn't matter what relationship you're in, you take yourself with you. So every relationship is it's just really reflecting aspects of you. So every relationship I was in, it didn't matter because I hadn't changed myself. When you do the work, when you change your vibration that you are literally emitting like a tower, you don't attract those type of people to you anymore. It's not the people. People always say, "Oh, they're a narcissist," or then there's no labels and names. They're only there because you created them. Because of, I know it sounds crazy, people don't understand that, but there's an aspect of you that needed that because they're showing you how you feel about yourself. Like, I had tumors, I had a lot of things wrong with me. I was bulimic because once I got out of the relationships, I then abused myself because it didn't feel familiar to me. I thought suddenly, God, I'm going to be happy and life's going to be amazing. No, because I still had the same process. So I'd eat maybe 50,000 calories. Because it made me feel good, then I'd make myself throw up because the same words are dirty and you're disgusting. So you're replaying unconsciously, you're just hypnotized. And even the relationship with the men, again, same thing as you, having affairs and, sleeping with women in front of you and doing certain things. Why was that happening to me? What were they projecting to me? That I was unworthy, that I didn't feel good about, I hated myself. So they're only reflecting how I felt about myself. As you do the work and you do that inner work, you don't have those relationships anymore. People mirror how you really feel about yourself then,
Yeah, but also I think in a way you could say the universe is delivering us lessons. And whether we choose to absorb those lessons or reject them and repeat the same mistakes is a decision at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah, and 100%. And I think the sad thing in the world at the moment is that, I truly believe that everything is set up to keep us in fear and to keep us separate. Like when people wake up and remember who we are, there will be no wars and no fighting. Everything's set up so that we're constantly fighting and fear. Like, if you're given a prognosis or you're given, you've got an illness or something, the first thing that fills you with is immense fear. And then you look around you and you look around to say, okay, this is what's happening. This is a diagnosis. Everybody goes through that process. This is what happens to them. So you start preparing, even though you think, oh, you might have 10% or 20 or 50% in your mind, you're already preparing for the worst case scenario.
Oh, yeah.
As you know, you've been through that. I've been through it as well. And I know the whole process of it. But when you have the foundations, when you know that you cannot die, and I'm not saying that like you can't, you decide when your death's going to be, you call it in because everything is coming from your creation. And even though they say, oh, but the specialist has told me, I've worked with people that said they've only given them a week to live. No, they turned their lives around and they've reclaimed their health. But it's because of what we believe. That's how powerful we truly are.
Yeah, that's amazing. That really is so kind of inspirational. So I'd love to hear more about how you rebuilt from the ground up, Mimi. And, to have written 6 books is absolutely incredible. Your passion really, really shines through on this topic. So, tell us how you did it and inspire other people, because guaranteed there are going to be people who are listening in that are in a difficult place right now. So they can benefit from your wisdom.
Yeah, thank you, Jane. I find that for me personally, I had to go all around the houses. I was such a slow learner, which is really crazy because I was only thinking today, it brings you back to the same spot again. But I think when you're desperate and you don't know, you work with so many people. You know, I trained a friend of mine was very good friends with Dr. Richard Bandler and Paul McKenna. And I mean, I'm not like I am today. I mean, I didn't even drive. I didn't even have a checkbook. I had nothing. I was like eight-year-old mentality. But she said to me, I'm going to send you for a weekend with them. They're doing a weekend course in the Tiara Hotel in London. Go there, submerge yourself in NLP. I think it'd be really good for you. I really didn't want to go. And I was literally crying the whole way there because I hadn't been around people either. It was crazy. Honestly, I had so much fear. And I remember going into the toilets when I got there crying. And I said, I couldn't breathe. I was literally having a panic attack. She said, breathe, you'll be fine. Just go and sit down and just go with it. Anyway, it was probably the best weekend. I loved it. I didn't want to interact with people. And when they were making us do sort of like a test together, I was like, oh God, I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do it. It was the mindset that kept kicking in. But one thing I realized on that weekend was that I kept sitting in a chair above everybody, and everybody that was panicking or couldn't do it, I was telling them, oh, no, it's fine. Just calm down. You've got this. And I realized that I was having leadership skills that I didn't even know I had. So there's aspects of myself that I started seeing and started understanding about myself and having more of an awareness. That's what it was. The awareness was kicking in. And then I decided I liked that. So I went and trained in emotional freedom technique. I became a Reiki master. I'd done business coaching. I tried everything. I tried different modalities because I didn't know. I wasn't doing it to help others. I was doing it to heal myself, if I was honest. And I realized I'd done hypnotherapy. I'd done loads of things. And I would feel great for a little while. But then it was like peeling an onion. I'd feel great in the energy. And then I would come back and the core of me was the same. Nothing had changed. And the feelings were still the same. I was still perpetuating the same situations. Nothing was really changing. And that's when I really sort of started really looking at different aspects. And to be honest, I asked the question to the universe, to God, like, okay, what am I missing here? This isn't working for me. Like, I'm still feeling so much hate in my stomach. I still feel like not good enough. And that's when I started really getting downloads, and the downloads were coming fast. And when I mean a download, I mean you just disconnect. It's in the silence. And when you ask a question, the appropriate questions, because we always ask, why is this happening to me? Oh, I don't know what to do. Not those questions. Show me what am I missing? Show me what do I need to see, or ask appropriate questions. And that's when everything really started changing and changing fast. And I wrote my first book. I think that literally came through me within about 5 days. That book was written. Tiny little book, but it was really, I wanted something for people to understand that who didn't know about energy, mindset, emotions, of how we create. That's what that book was really created for, to be honest. And then the others, the same. They just came through me very quickly.
Well, that's really, really interesting. And, you know, I suppose in a way, we're all a lifelong work in progress, aren't we?
Yeah.
If we take this stuff seriously. So I'm sure it's not unusual to try it from it's like a prism, isn't it? You'll try a little bit of that plane and then a little bit of that plane. And, you know, it's just incredible that you found this thing that is almost like a kind of direct message that, you know, almost like connecting you to your sort of inner self or your inner wisdom, really. Yeah. I think that's what I'm getting from what you're saying, that a lot of people turn away from it, don't they? Most people spend most of their lives, don't they, turning away from their intuition, call it intuition, inner wisdom, you know, downloads, or I haven't heard it mentioned that way before, but it makes perfect sense. And why do you think that is, Mimi?
I think we're so conditioned and we're so programmed from such a young age. You know, again, like, you know, my father and my parents are very spiritual. We used to have to go to church, you know, 3-4 times a week. But, you know, we're so, what's the right word? We're so like stuck on our belief systems, and nothing's going to break that belief system. Like, you know, if you think about religion, like, I'm very spiritual, I'm not religious. I used to go to church a lot. I don't go to church anymore. Doesn't mean I don't believe in God and the divine, but the things we've been taught, they keep us fearful and keep us separate. You know, there isn't an angry God, or, you know, there isn't a God that you have to do certain things for him to love you. It's an energy. And when people understand that it's just an energy, but that energy is also within you, when people talk to me like, about Jesus is going to come back and save us. No, Jesus was a man who tried to teach us that we all have that power within us. And when people can understand and stop making this book like this thing that you have to live by, it's a book about ourselves. It's that people were teaching us secrets and gifts about us. And when you can understand that and you can just try to broaden your horizon a little bit, the answer, the problem and the solution is us. And when you understand that, it makes life a game, and it makes it able for you to be able to play it from a different objective. You understand, like, why are you doing certain things to hurt yourself or to harm yourself? And the majority of it is, the answer is because people aren't happy. People are not happy and they're living a life they really don't want to live. And that's why the majority of people are drinking, doing the things that they do, gambling and everything else. They're just trying to keep themselves unconscious because they don't know how to get out of a life that they've created that they really don't want to be living.
Yeah, I think you're so right. So many people are stuck, aren't they, Mimi?
Yeah, 100%. And again, it's a way of thinking. Like, sometimes I speak to people that have been brought up in families that their fathers have left or their mothers have left, that they don't want to have a broken home. So they're with a person that they picked maybe because they were feeling broken in the first place or because they were lonely, but they're not a match to that person and they have nothing in common with that person. So when they come home in the evening, they're not even in alignment. So it's very hard. So you're trying to create a happiness, but you're not happy. And your soul is telling you, I'll do anything to be playing drums, or I'll be anything to be that's my passion. So you've got your passion and your soul on one end calling you constantly, and then you're living this life where you're existing, and the two will never, they're never going to merge. And there are ways that you can still have a happy relationship. I'm not saying for people just to leave their relationships, but you have to be honest with yourself and you have to look at what it is that you actually want, because you're never going, you can't keep lying to yourself. And that's what people are doing. They're literally, they're using external things to stop really going within and listening to their core of what they truly desire.
Yeah, I was actually reading something the other day about how most people really have no idea what they want. They think they know what they want, but actually they don't. And surely that's where it all starts, isn't it? Is actually being honest to ourselves about what we really, really want.
Yeah, 100%. And people come to me and I say to them, what is it that you want? I want to be happy. Oh, okay. What does happiness look like to you? Well, I just want to be happy. But what's happiness to you? Well, I want to be free. So what does freedom mean to you? Well, I want to be free of, free. I want to be free of all constraints. So, but you were born free. So it's like you said, no one knows what they truly want. I think as well, I work with a lot of people that have made so much money. I'm talking like stupid amounts of money, but they get their billionaire status or their millionaire status. They had the yachts, the boats, the women, the women had the toy boys. They have all the money, the Gucci handbags, everything, and they're still miserable and empty inside. Why?
Yeah.
Because they have bought into a belief that the more stuff that you have, when you become someone, because most people want the label, or they want people to see them as achieving, because then their mother or their father will think they've made it, or their friends. It's all from a lack of sense. We're running on the wrong things. So we're looking for worthiness. We're looking for appreciation and approval of other people. And that's most of the times why we do these things. When really most of my clients, they end up giving up all their stuff and going climbing Kilimanjaro or just traveling. And it's crazy. You go back to the beginning again. It's really mad.
But do you think, Mimi, that a lot of us get meaning and purpose from contributing and actually making a difference to other people? Because in my experience, I also know a lot of wealthy and successful people, and I feel that the happiest ones of those are people who have looked beyond their immediate family, where, really, if you're enriching your immediate family, well, you're just kind of giving yourself another present in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, to a certain extent. And they actually go out there and they say, okay, what difference can I really now make in the world? Now that I have this money, I have this time, what can I now do in terms of bringing all of this abundance to other people? Do you see that people kind of going in that direction when you work with them as well?
100%. And that's the whole basis of it, Jane. 100%. Like I always say to people, if you start worrying about yourself and you start, I mean, you have to love yourself and come from a place of loving. But when you stop focusing and fixating on yourself and focus on helping others and what you can do to make the world a better place, you can't be depressed. You stop looking at, like your hair's not perfect or your face isn't perfect, because you've got a bigger life purpose. And you're so right. Like, I always say to people as well, like when they've got families, you're always waiting for their kids to grow up and you're always trying to wish their lives away. But that's one of the greatest life purposes in your life. Enjoy it, because you are raising the people that are going to be giving back to humanity. And also for instance, a few people I've been working with lately, they're only the younger generation, but what they're doing now is not just looking at the passion of what they're passionate about, but what can their passion do to help others. It can inspire other young kids that want to get into motor racing, or other young people so it's so true. When you don't make it about yourself and you make it about what can I do to help others as well, you not only feel passionate every day and you get up with a burning passion and a mission, and it makes you feel so good to keep giving back to other people. Like if I can say honestly, like the amount of messages I get via LinkedIn, Instagram, I'm talking on a daily basis, people I've never met that have been following me for a year, 2 years, and they write and say, you helped save my life, you transformed my marriage, and I think, wow, do you know what an absolute honor and privilege, because we are here to help other people to be happy and to live a phenomenal life. What is the point of having £1 million in the bank, 10 million or 1 billion, when you could be helping orphanages or helping somebody else to feel good about themselves? So that's the whole point. Life is all about cycling and helping others.
I mean, I remember watching a documentary, might have been last year really, about the influencer Joe Wicks. So, he's the fitness guy, right?
Yes.
That got famous over lockdown. And he's got something like 6 million followers or something on Instagram. And part of that documentary showed him that every single day there are people messaging him on Instagram. And a lot of the time they are, they're struggling or they're troubled or something like that. And you know what? I mean, bless him, he was making all these little selfie videos and sending them these little encouraging messages and things. And the documentary maker said, well, why do you actually do this? You're getting exhausted doing this. And he said, because I care, and they mean something to me. I am their inspiration. So I want to give something back to them. And it just goes to show how strong that urge is, because he didn't have to do that, did he?
I think like now, I mean, every day I voicemail everybody that messages me on LinkedIn. I might have 1,000 people. It might take me 2 minutes, but people have no connection with each other. I think it's so important. And they're like, oh my God, I've never, ever received a voice note. Oh my God, like out of all the thousands of followers you have, you answered me. And I'm like, yeah, of course, you're important. And I think that's what it is. There's no human connection anymore. We've got Instagram, we've got all these different apps, and I look at all the kids nowadays and they're just like brain dead on these things. Like people want to talk, like in the old days we used to have meals and would sit around the table and would discuss our days, and that's what I think is missing from people, human interaction and being there for one another as well. I think it's so important.
Yeah. And this thing about making an impact is really important to you personally as well, isn't it, Mimi? I mean, we were talking about that beforehand, weren't we?
Yeah, no, most definitely. Like for me, I know I love working with people and I love inspiring. But yeah, I think for me, like my biggest mission is really changing the way we think, the human conditioning. I really want to, even if I leave just a tiny dent before I pass, I really want to give people another way of having to think about things. Like life is a game, and it's really easy when you learn the rules of how to play it. And it's really easy. We are just whole unit. Our emotions are given to us to help guide us. They're not there. I know a lot of people I know, they take all these tablets to suppress them and depress these, these emotions, but they are your sat navigation system. When you learn what they're trying to communicate with you, then you understand that it's a gift. It's not, we're not here to live a life of pain and suffering, but everything is happening to you, for you. And when you understand that, like learning to be quiet, learning to shut yourself down a bit, learning to honor yourself, to be truthful to yourself, to listen to yourself, and to really figure out what is it that you truly want, So I think, I am very passionate. Sorry, I could go on forever, but I just want to teach people like there's other ways. The answer is you. God has given you every single thing. We haven't been created just to be dropped here on earth with no way of being able to heal ourselves, to help ourselves, because they're there basically to fill you with fear, to fill you with like anger of all the things that are happening in the world, but they're not actually really happening in that way as well. They're playing a very good game with us.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Mimi, I'm going to throw a few problems at you then, and I would love to hear your answer because people sometimes come to me. I mean, I've got 3 adult children. They've certainly got a few problems at the moment, as we all have, right? So let's try a few of these problems and see what the answer is. Okay. So what would you say to somebody who's fallen out with all of her friends or most of her friends, and they're all being mean to her and she feels really lonely?
I would first of all really take stock of, first of all, people are only reflecting back to you aspects about yourself. So what is it about that? What are you thinking and feeling? What belief have you got that people don't like you? So I always bring it back to self, and first of all, what is it that you want as well? What is it that you're wanting from these relationships with these girls? How do you see yourself? Because most of the time you'll find out they'll be talking to themselves in a way that I'm not good enough, that I'm not pretty enough, or there's, I don't fit in with all these girls. So it's really about stripping it back to us again. I know it sounds so boring, but the problems are never out there. The problems are always taking it back internally and then really building up about how you see yourself and then creating, again, we have, I know I work with so many people that you can change your energy. It's what you're focusing on. It's the energy that you're giving to that situation as well. When you change energy towards that situation, you can change the people in that situation so they behave differently to you as well.
Okay. Well, I love that. That is absolutely fantastic. Okay. What about somebody who is single and is having no luck, and they've been on the dating sites and they've done everything right, and they're being, they've lost weight and they look good and they read all the books and they go out there and they're being very polite and, sort of their most effervescent self, but they're not getting anywhere. What would you say to them?
Again, they'll have an internal program. There'll be an internal dialogue that they're telling themselves that it's just not for me. I can never find anyone. I don't know what's wrong with me. Maybe I'm too short or too fat, or guys like me or women like me just don't find an ideal partner. Or they'll be replaying past situations. I always meet the ones that dump me. I knew that he would do that to me. I knew that she would do that. So again, it's all coming from us. So again, it's about really looking at yourself. It's about liking yourself, loving yourself, filling all the voids inside of yourself. Why do you need someone in the first place? Maybe because you want them to love you, but do you love yourself? What else do you need from them? Because I want them to make me feel good. I'm feeling lonely. So what can you do to fill that void of loneliness? Because the minute you fill all those gaps, you will find someone when you're not even looking for them, and they'll be the right person, the right match for you.
I love that. Okay, right. Another problem, right? Somebody's out of work. They've been looking for a job. They can't find a job. They've got very close. They've put all this energy into interviews and polishing up their CV, and they've come close 5 times and nothing has happened. And the applications keep going, and, they're just losing faith.
Most of the people that I work with that get into that situation, it's really because they don't want that job either. They're mainly either going for the job because they have bills to pay or mortgages to pay. But inside they're pushing the job away. As much as they say they're wanting it, they're pushing it away from them. So it's finding out why they actually want this job. And also they could be telling themselves they haven't got the right qualifications, or they're not really good for that job, or they've got low self-esteem. So why would they want someone like me? I don't really think I can do the job. So everything is coming from the dialogue of what you're saying, how you feel about yourself, and really, do you want that job in the first place? Or is there something else that you really are passionate about that you really want? So if you change those aspects, you'll get the job.
Okay, amazing. Okay, so how about somebody that they say, do you know what? I can't lose weight. Everything I've tried is not working. I'm just, I'm really restricting my diet. I'm going to the gym all the time. And I know somebody like this. That's why I'm saying it to you, but I just can't lose weight.
Yeah. So a lot of weight issues have to do with emotions. So weight keeps us safe. So the more we eat, the more we feel unattractive as well. So there could be a reason why people are holding on to weight. It could be that somebody has been mean to you, or you've had a bad relationship. So you don't want men or women to look at you. So you're keeping yourself in a way that you're looking unattractive to yourself. Or it could be the fact that you are focusing so much on the weight that it's like anything. The more you focus on the subject of what you're trying to change, it doesn't change because you're putting negative energy into it. So I always tell my clients, forget about the weight. Let's just make you happy. And in corporate, like, we're always taking away. So you go on a diet, you eliminate the chocolate, you eliminate the sin bin, and straight away your mind's like, oh my God, I need the chocolate, I need that, and you fixate on it to the point where you're salivating every day. But if you add rather than take away, so if you add an apple a day, if you just walk to the lamppost and back a day, you start feeling good about yourself. You're changing aspects of that old identity to someone who does like to exercise, who does like to eat well. You're starting to like yourself. You're starting to get in touch with who you are. So I always teach people that the old identity, if it's weight, if it's smoking, if it's drugs, if it's drink, if it's pornography that you're trying to, whatever it is, that we leave that there. I don't work with the old person. I rebuild a new person, and then I get people to step in, and we're living from this person. How do they think? How do they feel? How do they operate? What are they doing on a daily basis? Because the more you connect to this person, that person will just fade away. You won't have those cravings anymore because the habit is with that old person, the old identity.
Oh, it's just so powerful. Okay, one more before we wrap it up, because I'm sure that you probably see all these sorts of problems all the time, because these are normal problems, aren't they, that a lot of people have. Okay, so money problems. This is something a lot of people face. I don't know what the statistics are, but I think, most of the adult UK population, I think a lot of them, a large percentage anyway, are in debt, always struggling for money, more month, what do they call it? Month at the end of the money or something. Yeah. So, it's just constant, and they never seem to be able to get out of debt.
Yeah. I think, this one's a big one. This was a big one for me because I didn't realize that a lot of people, they attract wealth, but they can't contain it. So it's like wealth comes to them, they have to spend it, they have to get rid of it. And most of that comes down to you not feeling worthy of having money as well. Or there's a program that you've had since you was a child that money doesn't grow on trees, or money's evil, money's the root of all evil. So it's all to do with your perception of money as well. If you don't feel worthy of having it, you're going to get rid of it. If you feel that you're the sort of person that can only earn £5,000 a month or £1,000 a month, that's what you're going to earn. So again, it's the same thing. It's about stepping into a new identity. How would you feel? How would that person be? Like, you've got to expand your own capacity to receive. And that's all it is. It's about becoming aware of yourself, aware of your own sabotaging patterns, and really sitting down. And it's not about changing that person that you are. It's about stepping into the person who already has the capacity to hold that wealth. And you're holding it from a place of happiness as well, so that the money seems natural to you. Because at the moment, lottery winners, I've worked with someone who won a lottery once, hundreds of thousands of pounds, all gone within 6 months, because he he hadn't become the person that was able to attain that money. His family were poor, so for him, it was like just spend. He didn't have a money mindset. And that's all it is about learning and teaching yourself that you are capable of having money and that you can keep it. And it's good to grow it and to put it into certain things. So it's just about becoming. It's about changing your state of being. Everything's about, I have a phrase I like to say that there is no circumstances that matter. No circumstances matter. It's always your state of being. So when you change your state of being, your circumstances will change. That's really empowering if you understand the power behind that.
It really is. It really is. And on that topic of money, I've also met a lot of people who they might be very wealthy, but they hoard their money and they're still so scared around money. And it is really, really strange to me, that mindset as well, because how can your money ever make you happy when you're actually terrified of spending it? It's surprisingly common.
Yeah, and that is so powerful what you just said, because I work with someone who had so much money, but he hoards it under his bed in tins. Then he'll go to like the Co-op or Marks and Spencer's and buy all the rejected prices that are down to 20 pence off. But again, it's because they have a fear of money not coming back. So they have a fear of spending it, so they don't enjoy it. But if you understand that money is energy, every single thing in life, weight is energy, food is energy, everything is energy. So when you understand that what you put out, you get back. So you don't put it out in fear, you put it in love. So the more you love spending and you bless that money for giving you the ability to buy that food, to give to the homeless, to do whatever you're doing, money's going to come back to you because you're not hoarding it. You're releasing it, and that's where people go wrong. It's a crazy mixed up mindset. But again, it's because we're operating from fear and we're not operating from love. That's all it is. It's just a reversal.
And that's such a simple thought, really, isn't it? You can choose fear or love. And the implications are massive, really, aren't they?
Yeah, well, the one thing I always say that the universe, God, the creator, the universe, the field, whatever you want to call it, it's given us two options. We have a choice. And that choice is what messes a lot of people up, because it's like we are born into heaven, but we're creating our own hell. And if you think about it, that creation is complete. It's complete. So there is nothing to get. It's about releasing. So if creation is complete and you can have anything you want, you can have the ideal, you can even change how you look. You can change your whole face just by changing a different aspect of yourself. But if creation is complete, what are you doing to stop yourself from having the happiness, the love, the life that you say that you want? Because it's not about attaining more knowledge. It's about releasing and letting go.
Oh, that's so amazing. Well, Mimi, it's been such an inspirational conversation. I really enjoyed speaking to you. Thank you so much for joining us today. And, so if we just wanted to briefly mention your app. So you have a mindfulness app, don't you? So tell us about that and how people can get it.
Okay, so on my website, and you can go onto my website, which is just www.mimibland.london. But the app was created as well. It's cheap. It's not a lot of money at all. But I created it very specifically. So I think, I don't know if it's $7.99, $9.99 a month, but you can go on there and it's really a fantastic app. So it teaches you how to stay present every day. It will tell you how are you feeling. It checks in on you on a daily basis. You have a journal so that you can start writing things down to gain awareness. You have meditations in there. There's me speaking as well. So there's Chat GPT. I have literally programmed it with every book and every piece of information that I could get out of my head. So if someone goes in and you're feeling down, you're feeling depressed, or there's a question, I'll immediately answer you by speaking to you, or you can write it and I'll type the answers to you. So this app was created to keep you present and aware, and for you to become, the one thing I want to do is for people to stop searching externally and start learning that when you learn to master yourself, you master reality. You don't need to keep going anywhere else. It's a simple process. And like learning to drive a car, once you've got it, you never have to go anywhere ever again.
Yeah, and the wonderful thing about that, and also about your community, because you have a private member community, is
starting that one. That's coming
just
out.
Starting that one. Yes. So of course, hire you or engage with you one-to-one. It's expensive, I would imagine. Why wouldn't it be? But all your wisdom and knowledge, you've packaged it into this app, which, as you said, it's only $9.99 a month or something like that. So for anybody that has been listening today and you think, do you know what? I love this idea that everything we need is within us. And I love the way that, Mimi's been talking today about this really important topic of mindset, then it's all there. So, yeah, fantastic.
I'm not that expensive. And I do adjust according as well. Like, I'm here to help people at the end of the day. We're all here to help one another, and I think that's very, very important. And all I'd say to anyone that's struggling or in a dark place, because we've all been there, and I know at my lowest point, I felt like this was it. There is no coming back from any of the stuff that I've been through. And all I'd say to anyone, there is, all you need to have is a different vision, a different belief. You just need to reach out to someone that can help you just get out of that mindset a little bit. And the minute that's shifted, then life will completely transform and change for you.
And that's amazing. And you are the living testament to that, because, look at you, Mimi, you're glowing, you're positive, you've achieved all of these things. And that is so wonderful. You're inspiration. So it's been really, really great to have you on the podcast. Thank you so much for joining us, and look forward to your community being launched and your next book, which is also coming out soon, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I just really want to say thank you so much to you. Thank you to your community. And yeah, life is a joy. Like, let's get back to living a joyful life experience. Like, look at the children and really go back to being childlike. Stop taking life so seriously and learn to have fun again. It's really important.
That's a wonderful message to end with. Thank you, Mimi. Bye for now.
Bye.
Jane Bayler is the Smart Connector, a London-based, passionate serial entrepreneur, brand marketer and business growth exploder who helps overlooked and undervalued consultants and sector experts generate consistent, scalable revenues through becoming the go-to choice of their dream clients. If you've enjoyed this episode, we'd really appreciate you liking, rating, and reviewing the podcast on the platform you've heard it on. And check out the links in the show notes if you'd like to connect with Jane or any of her guests in person. Thank you for listening, and come back soon.